Not by that much, but timing is everything in StarCraft, so you gotta be on top of it. I knew it was gonna be a tough start when those Ravagers came in. But I did need, all I needed was more cannons in the front and we would have had it. So I was too conservative. I was gonna go Tempest, that's why I was like, oh, should I go Tempest? But I was like, no, I'm already making Oracles. But, so I hesitated on the cannons.
Your probes are under attack. Twilight for ire. We stand as one. Justice be done.
I am here in the shadows.
Na Adan Atu. What guides me? We embrace the glory of battle.
We're gonna get a Tempest in a second.
Prismatic core online.
State them.
Fate. Our pylon is under attack.
I am the heart of darkness.
Genetic matrix.
Let our enemy know our fury.
Zack. We have no Channel the light of fire. Phase crystal.
I am the voice of the eclipse. I serve for now.
We face the enemy. Our pylon is under attack. This vessel is down. Your probes are under attack. Base is under attack.
Vicky. I am the voice.
Channel this vessel.
We fear. Let our enemy know our fury.
Base is under attack. Base crystal charge. This vessel. Base is under attack.
Genetic matrix.
Our pylon is under attack. Zaknaku Akbar. We meet the enemy in glorious battle. Forward to
We seek justice.
Genetic matrix. This vessel is down.
Vengeance is power.
Our pylon is under attack.
We seek
Channel this vessel down. Fire and grid. All integrity failed. Base is under attack.
we fear no
Zaknak.
The Golden Armada awaits.
Face
Vengeance is
Channel the light. Phase crystal charged. Mineral field depleted. We meet the enemy in glorious battle. Confirmed. This vessel shall avenge.
we seek justice. Born true.
For glory. Mineral field depleted. Zaknaku Akbar. Channel. Phase crystal charged. This vessel down. Dawn anon. Mineral field depleted. Our pylon is under attack. System Zaknaku Akbar. Annihilation commencing. Power. Processed.
Victory.
Zaknak. Base is under attack. Undercool Rock. Hikuda Anai. It shall be done. Cast our shell. Your probes are under attack. Your probes are under attack. Genetic matrix. This vessel shall mark Aya. Channel the light of Io. Systems at full. Calibrating void lenses. Process. Base is under attack. Zach, we are at full power. Command. We fear no. Vengeance is ours.
I'm sure he's not anywhere
the light
else.
of Io. We are the genetic matrix active. Now mark Io. All integrity failing. This vessel shall descend. Channel the light of Io. Na Adan Atu. Your probes are under attack. Highlight for hire. My meditation is over. We embrace the glory of battle. This vessel shall avenge. Calibrating void
Got him. So wasn't he a charming player? That was nice. I like it. He had some style in his own. Yeah, those are the, you know, I was talking about I was at the Pylon show this week, right? And that was one of the things that I was talking about at the Pylon show. Is I was talking to Hots, Cats, and Neuro, and I was kind of telling them, like, I see that they're like looking at strategy players in a sense where you're facing against a meta. But I said, well, that's a certain style, right? That we have to do versus the meta. But I was like, the ones that have two cheesers involved, where both of them are playing creative, that's where the games are really enjoyable. I was like, it's not necessarily the fact that we pay attention to the fact that the cheesers are against the meta. That's not actually the most enjoyable part. That's the part we have to deal with because it's redundant. But the enjoyable part is when two cheesers fight each other, because it becomes a chaotic game because they don't follow the same standard rules, and because of that, who knows what's gonna happen. And that's where I think that game will go eventually once the meta gets outdated and a bit stale, where others just decide, hey, let's just do our own thing now, instead of this. And so I kind of feel like that's where the game is going anyways. But yeah, I try to mention that at the Pylon show, and it's like these games are fun. Who knows what's gonna happen. He did good choices, I did good choices. It was a weird one. Yeah. It was an interesting game. I'll explain a little bit of it. This was, I think we were both freestyling because he came out and scouted me real quick, and so I went for a forge, and I went out to do my normal forge. But the Terran went for an SCV really early so he can check if I'm going gateway or forge. So because he saw the forge, he's like, oh, okay. He's going to go forge. He's going to go cannon rush. I gotcha. So it was that moment where he pulled away instead of going all the way in that I decided to start switching up my build. So as he left, I canceled the forge and I built the cybernetics core before he goes up, because once he clicks it, it's not often that he's going to click it again if he goes up. He's already clicked it once, okay, it's a forge. He's not going to click it again and go, okay, it's not a forge anymore. It's more like, okay, it's a forge, he's going to go cannon, let me go defend and make sure he's not going to cheese me since I know what he's doing. So I changed the building, I got my gas. And then so I need to make sure I look like I'm forging. But there's two things I have to do. One is I have to get a probe over here. So I can make my pylon and Stargate, but I can't do it while the SCV is there. And so what I usually do in my games is I follow the SCV, because the SCV only has so many hit points that you could do, and they're gonna go home anyways. They're gonna take them where the Reaper would be, or where, you know, they can get home and safe. So as I chew on the SCV a little bit, it allows me to act like I'm following the SCV to chase it down, and that I forgot to send it back home and not go all the way over there. So that's what that's what that's supposed to do at the same time. So as I switched the strategy, I quickly changed the forge, turned it into a gateway. My pro was already thinking of the next play, which is follow him so that we can get to his base. Now on this probe, we go over here to go do our damage. We got to make it look like we're going cannon rush. So I have to do it at least at the lower part, but closer where you can see it.
Well, Dak, here's the deal.
And
I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Yo.
Oh shit, the overlay. Sorry. Okay. So because of that, let's go back and just quickly refresh it. So pylon, forge, he spots the forge, he pulls back, I follow him, this probe goes over and fakes the cannon rush. Now I switch over the forge to the gateway, and now the SCV is almost damaged, and we're going to his house. We're going back to the Terran's house. And so this is the part where I told you that I need to get to his base with the second probe. But how do you do it organically? Doing it organically is the better way to do it, because it confuses your opponent. If you didn't do it organically, it would be weird for an SCV a probe to go out to the map. They would keep a tag on that and go, okay, yeah, there's a probe that moved out while I was doing my engineering bay, so let's make sure that we know what's up with that if there is some, you know. So that's why this has to be more organic. It has to look like it was like a normal game where we always chase it, and you know, it is what it is, and maybe it gets lost in the shuffle right here. So usually when I have these kind of maps where I have these brushes, I usually wait for the brush part and then I pull back away. I act like, oh, it didn't read and it got stuck at the bush, because sometimes it gets stuck right there. And so every once in a while I'll do that, and I'll just kind of like break off. But in this case, I kind of got a little late right here because this probe was running around, and I broke right here. I notice how I go backwards. I don't go sideways, because if he sees me go sideways, that's a weird one. But if I go back, then he's gonna be like, oh, you know, if he did see, he's going back home. So I go back and then make a quick right. And here goes the cannon, fake cannon pylon right here. It's a fake cannon, but I have to make it look like a cannon rush. Yeah, you know. And so now it looks like he won the cannon rush part. He's like, okay, he tried to cannon rush me. I got there. Because I knew what he was doing, I was already ahead of the current, and he couldn't get his cannons up. So that's what you want him to feel like. And of course, he's not, you know, why would you want to take a Nexus? Because he's going to wall you off anyways, you know, so there's no reason to follow this up to a macro unless he wants to put you here and he wants to attack you, wants to reposition you. So I'm getting my Zealot. Why do you get the Zealot? Because this has to go down. It has to go down because if it doesn't go down, then he's going to think something's wrong. If you take it out with the Zealot, it means that he's thinking that you're going to make a Nexus. And then it throws on his timer where it's like, okay, the Protoss more or less should have a Nexus by now. And I'll tie my build to that, you know. Because he ain't got no, he's got a late tech. So he has to expand, you know. Forge player going into Nexus, he's going to be late on his tech. And so that, you know, there goes a pylon down. He's getting a bunker just in case, because he knows I'm desperate and he's not sure what's going to be, if there's going to be more cannons down here or what. So he's just being assertive in his play. And then the Zealot, right? The Zealot takes this out. And now he's aware of it. So now he knows there's a possible Nexus coming up soon because my tech is late. And in reality, I'm getting my gas already early. I got my cybernetics core already up, and I got my Stargate moving along. I got my battery shield in case the probe gets attacked by a Reaper. And then I'm getting a forge so that I can get the cannon right here for the Marines that scout. If they do scout or try to take this out, gotta have a cannon right there. And then I go straight into my fleet beacon. The fleet beacon is my choice. The earlier, the better. If you make too many void raids, you hinder yourself, but it depends on the scenario. So now he's moving out. He's like, oh, he's going for a Stargate. I'm sure he has his methods that he tries to do, but I believe this is what he does versus cannon rushers. So cannon rushers are out there. Terrans do their own thing with them. Each player has their own like strategy what they do after they deny the cannon rusher. Most of them that are play standard always have like one specific one, and this is his, which is like some marine tank push out, which is very often seen in the Florencio files. Whenever I do a cannon rush and they break out, it's usually like the pig starts going, what are you doing? No, don't send a couple of Marines in a tank. And it's okay, but when you're playing me, it's different. It's like he's like, no, don't do it. Not to the server. Don't go over there with a couple. He's ready for that. So it's always funny when he sees the tank and a few Marines going out there, and then they go, oh shit, what's going on? I'm getting shot by Tempest and shit. So it's quite funny how that works. So we got to get the reactor out now that this is an environment that's exposed. And the reactor is going to keep us from fighting too many Vikings early on. So he's giving us an opportunity. Opportunities come because the player sometimes makes things in weird spots. And an opportunity to you is that you see that and you take advantage of it. So to play good at StarCraft, it just pretty much is a lot of thinking of what's best to shoot and why in certain situations like this. Like the better you are, the more you tag the right things. If you don't tag the right things, it's because you really don't know what to hit to hurt the Terran. You're just stuck in a position where you're like, I need more men first before I break in. It's like, yeah, but what do you do right now with the units that you have? How do you make them work? And right here would be this, you know, the reactor. Take it down so you don't face too many Vikings early on in the game. I knew that he was not paying attention to his Viking because I look at the minimap a lot. The minimap is a good tool, and whenever I see a Viking and I see him shooting and I look at the minimap, and especially in times like this where he's on my side of the map, I know that he's got vision over here because his Marines are over here. So I know that I can sometimes fish off a unit on the other side because he can't be in two places at once. And sometimes they forget that the Viking just came out at the same time as they're doing a move, and they should pull it back. But because they're over there, eyes-wise, you can pull them away from the turrets by backing up a little bit, force them to get AI'd over to you, and then snipe them so that the turrets don't get any shots off your, you know, void rate. So that's a quick reaction right here to what I do because I was conscious about this. Now the tank was a good trick. I was like, oh shit, the tank is on the edge. So I gotta stay right here. I should be good. But then he started turreting up, which is really good on his play because he's like, okay, you're going. He's like, you're going Tempest and Void Raids, so you are not, you're not gonna have any units on this side of the map. So he sieges up and starts turning up, which is really good. And I'm over here trying to do enough damage, SCV damage if I could, because that's the closest thing I can break, is to get into this SCV line. The turrets, you don't want to deal with the turrets because they take forever to kill, especially with Tempest. The repairing is just horrible regarding how they deal damage. That's why they got that extra upgrade. But to do these kind of builds, that upgrade is not really viable early on. You have to wait until like a little bit later because these are very heavy scrimmages on both sides. And so he's sieging in really close, and I'm like, oh man, my Nexus is getting closely targeted. So I recall back home, and then I go for the tank. This one right here is a hard one to get to. After I got that tank, I went back over here and started checking out my Void Raid and checking out my production. So I know he's over on my side, so I know that I can have a little bit of time here with the SCVs. So I pick a little corner where I can just pick off anything that's in this range. Now here, I use the battery overcharge when I do Nexus rushes. So sometimes I have like a battery right here, and then I have a Nexus. And instead of recalling, depending on the situation, sometimes I do a battery overcharge and I heal up the Nexus all the way up, which is going to take forever to break down again early on. So that allows me to get a probe out, make a pylon, and get some warp in sometimes, or wait for a secondary 50 energy so I can recall, because the recall doesn't get cycled through just because you use up the overcharge, but you still need the energy. So you have to wait a little bit, but then the energy comes, you recall it, and all of a sudden your Nexus is up because of that, longer than they expected. So it's little tricks like that that keep me up on this, where it's like, oh, Nexus is almost dead, use the battery overcharge to heal it right back up to stall time. So I couldn't break in from the front, so I tried to go around because the front was too hard. It was, the SCVs are gonna auto repair. I'm not gonna be able to snipe the SCVs too early because I have a timer right here. This is my timer, the tank and this. Now right here, I started sniping the SCVs every time they got close to repairing the turret. Once I pulled back, yeah, I went back over here and I shot this, then shot an SCV. He's doing it again with the turrets, the auto repair. So this is his little trick. This is his trick when he gets Tempest on him. He uses the auto repair, and he gets some turrets and just kind of like uses the time spot, the fact that it doesn't take that much energy to repair in regards to cost, but it's worth it when you don't have to lose Marines left and right, and you can gather up some units. Yeah, he's dead at that point. I take a hidden base, and he's got that tank's got nothing better to do, so he's got to do something with it. Hey, he's sending everything. GG. Well played. That was a fun game.